testimony today. Appreciate your candor and directness both. Dr. Griffin, let me address my first question to you, and actually this is a question from Chairman Culberson, and that is, how would you design a process to create a human spaceflight decadal survey?
Such a question reminds me of a wry joke among engineers about the dangers of doing math in public. With that in mind, I think I might offer some broad comments, okay. And I would be more than willing to discuss the question offline with committee and staff, but the details are probably not best hammered out here. I would say broadly that in order to craft a plan of decadal scope, a process much like what science does in their various disciplines would be helpful. One would have to gather together recognized experts in human spaceflight, ranging from operators to, in point of fact, philosophers. Why are we doing this in the first place? These were the kinds of questions that were addressed in the period following the loss of Columbia, and that did allow us to come up with what I thought was a plan, a quality plan of decadal scope. Okay. The key to such a plan is having as many knowledgeable stakeholders as possible contributing to it, having it done in the open, and then having the opportunity to discuss it and debate it when it is done, rather than having it, as Colonel Collins suggested, foisted upon us as a surprise.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Griffin. We'll look forward to a further discussion on this subject with you as well.
I would as well, sir. Thank you.
Great. Colonel Collins, does NASA have a set of clearly defined strategic goals and objectives? And if not, what should those goals and objectives be?
Yes, thank you for the question. That I think it depends on your perspective, because some say yes and some say no. So I think at the top, NASA does have a final goal of landing a crew on Mars approximately 2030, 2033. But how you get there is where there is maybe disagreement or some confusion possibly on how we're going to do that, because the mission has changed and NASA has defined the roadmaps, and they are in those National Academy of Sciences studies that have been published, one in 2012 and one in 2014. We go there by using the moon as a test bed or by visiting an asteroid. And I realize the asteroid mission has changed several times. It was originally astronauts would visit an asteroid and work there. And as time went on, the asteroid got smaller. It was difficult to find the right asteroid. One of the problems is these asteroids are moving around in space, so they're not always where you think they're supposed to be. You have to project it where it's going to be in the future, and then if your mission delays, that's going to change some of the planning, and possibly may even change the destination to a different asteroid. And of course, these asteroids are different, and they have different makeups, different sizes. So NASA then decided to capture an asteroid and bring it to the lunar space, do that robotically, and then have astronauts visit. So that mission has changed because as we go along, we find that there's technical difficulties. So I see that that's where the disagreement is in the scientific and operational community as to how we should do that mission. Most people agree that we need to go to Mars. The problem is, how do we get there?
Thank you, Colonel Collins. And Ms. Chaplain, what are your recommendations for how NASA should address their deficiency in their proposal to go to Mars?
I think the long-term planning is very critical here, and they do definitely need a strategic plan that, again, lays out how they're going to get there, also what technologies you need to get there. There's many more systems and subsystems that are going to need to be developed for the eventual trip to Mars, and to also have cost estimates, at least in ranges, for the different kinds of choices that you can make. At this point, we only have cost estimates going up through the second flight for Orion and nothing after that. And for SLS, we only have cost estimates going up through the first flight. So there's a lot of important questions ahead about how much is everything going to cost and what else do you need to get in order to get there.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Chaplain. The ranking member, the gentlewoman from Texas, Ms. Johnson, is recognized for her questions.